Here are 3 things about strokes that I wish I had known sooner, especially the last one, involving a specific type of vitamin E. Whether or not you make a full recovery might not just depend on how quickly you get to the emergency room, but also on a nutrient you take afterward. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what that is and why choosing the wrong kind of vitamin E could make your recovery efforts worthless. Before we talk about the type of vitamin E that can literally save your brain after a stroke, let me tell you about Nancy, 68 years old, living in North Carolina. It was a chilly March morning. Nancy went to her local health clinic to pick up her regular blood pressure medication. While waiting, she chatted with 2 other women, both seniors managing high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Nancy was always the curious one, asking about new medications or natural ways to support blood flow without side effects. "I had a little dizziness and blurred vision last week," she said with a soft chuckle, probably just from sleeping badly. But one of the women suddenly turned serious. "Nancy, that could have been a mini stroke. That's exactly how mine started. A month later, I had a real one." Nancy went quiet. A chill ran down her spine. She had never considered that a fleeting moment of dizziness might actually mean her brain's blood vessels were under stress. That conversation changed everything. She started digging deeper and discovered a powerful form of vitamin E known as tocotrienol that might support brain recovery and even prevent future strokes. Strokes are divided into 2 main types. First, there's the major stroke, caused by a blood clot blocking a vessel in the brain or by a ruptured blood vessel, which can leave permanent damage. But before that, many people may experience a mini-stroke, also known as a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. Think of a TIA as a warning shot, your body's whisper before it has to scream with a full-blown stroke. The symptoms of a TIA can be very similar to a stroke, but they only last for a short period, from a few minutes to less than 24 hours, and then disappear without leaving obvious long-term effects. Because they're temporary, many people tend to dismiss them, thinking it's just a dizzy spell or a sign of fatigue. However, this is a very dangerous assumption. Statistics from reputable health organizations show that someone who has had a TIA is at a much higher risk of having a major stroke. Specifically, up to 1 in 5 people will have a major stroke within a year of their TIA. Therefore, it is crucial to treat a TIA as an urgent warning sign and to act immediately. This video will be very important if you have ever had a mini stroke. There's a very simple way to identify the different signs that you're having a stroke, and the acronym for that is B FAST. B is for balance. The person may suddenly lose their balance, stumble, or feel like the world around them is spinning. E is for eyes. There's a sudden change in vision. They might have blurry vision in one or both eyes, or see double. It can feel like a curtain has suddenly been drawn. F is for face. One side of the face droops. A simple test is to ask the person to smile. If the smile is uneven and one side of the mouth sags, that's an alarming sign. A is for arm. There's weakness or numbness in one arm. You can ask them to raise both arms. One arm might drift downward, or they may not be able to raise it as high as the other.
S is for speech. Speech becomes difficult. They might slur their words, use the wrong words, or be completely unable to speak. T is for time. If you notice any of the signs above, call 911 immediately. There is a golden window of about 4.5 hours from the start of symptoms during which doctors can use clot-busting drugs. Getting to the hospital early greatly increases the chances of a good recovery. So what is this critical nutrient? It's a special compound that's gaining a lot of attention in the scientific community, tocotrienol. When most of us hear vitamin E, we think of tocopherol, the common form found in most supplements and foods. However, vitamin E is actually a family of 8 different compounds broken down into 2 groups, tocopherols and tocotrienols. Each group has 4 forms, alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Tocotrienols, dubbed the next-generation vitamin E, have shown remarkable neuroprotective properties in preclinical studies. Specifically, the alpha-tocotrienol form has been shown to be up to 1,000 times more potent than alpha-tocopherol in protecting brain cells from the kind of oxidative stress damage that happens during a stroke. and it only takes tiny amounts to prevent this glutamate-induced brain cell death. So, let's say, for example, you start noticing issues with your speech or your arm, or you suspect you're having a stroke. You'll want to take this tocotrienol right away to help prevent further damage. But even if you don't have tocotrienol on hand at that moment, I would personally get some to use during the stroke recovery and rehabilitation process. And regardless of the recommended dose on the bottle, I would likely take 4 times that amount, and I'd spread the doses throughout the day. I would also make sure not to take it with tocopherols. I would only take the tocotrienol in a mixed form that includes alpha, beta, gamma, and delta, because it appears that tocopherols and tocotrienols tend to compete with each other, and we don't want anything to dilute the effect. So, tocotrienol can be used for stroke prevention, to help prevent damage during a stroke, and for the recovery phase after a stroke. Tocotrienols have very special properties that help protect the cell membrane of a neuron. Because of this, it's also good for other conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dystonia, which is an involuntary muscle contraction or twisting movements. It's also very beneficial for high cholesterol.
Ataxia, which is a condition where you have very poor coordination, your balance is off, you fall a lot, and you can't maintain your stability because there's some kind of damage to the back part of the brain called the cerebellum. And it's also good for another condition called dysautonomia. That's basically a malfunction of your autonomic nervous system, which includes your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. If either of these is overactive or not strong enough, vitamin E is something you'd want to take. For instance, let's say you can't sweat no matter how much you exercise. This might not sound like a big deal, but it's actually very dangerous. Sweating is the body's natural cooling mechanism. If you can't sweat, you're at risk for heat stroke and severe heat exhaustion. The complete opposite can also happen. You sweat constantly and uncontrollably, even in a cool environment. Both of these extremes are signs that your body's automatic temperature regulation system is faulty. That would be an example of dysautonomia. Another, more serious condition is called POTS, which stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Picture this. Every time you go from sitting to standing, gravity pulls blood down to the lower part of your body. In a healthy person, the autonomic nervous system instantly tells the blood vessels to constrict and adjusts the heart rate to push blood back up to the brain. But in someone with POTS, this system responds too slowly or not strongly enough. As a result, they feel dizzy, their heart starts racing, and in many cases, they can't even stand up without fainting. It's a serious issue with the autonomic nervous system. To support these complex conditions, nutrition experts often emphasize the role of neuronutrients. Vitamin B1 is very, very important, but so is vitamin E in its tocotrienol form, thanks to its powerful ability to protect nerve cells. And one last thing that tocotrienol is really good for has nothing to do with the brain. It's related to the heart, specifically a heart attack. Your heart muscle needs a rich, constant supply of oxygen to function. When the oxygen-carrying blood flow to the heart gets blocked, a heart attack occurs. Many heart patients carry nitroglycerin pills with them for emergencies. Nitroglycerin works by dilating the blood vessels, which helps to immediately increase blood and oxygen flow to the heart. Interestingly, tocotrienols have shown similar supportive effects. So you can almost think of tocotrienol as a natural version of nitroglycerin, because it's so powerful at increasing oxygenation to the heart muscle itself, helping to keep it healthier and more resilient. On a final note, vitamin E is essential for allowing omega-3 fats, especially DHA, to do their job in the brain. DHA is one of the key building blocks of the brain. However, DHA is a polyunsaturated fat, which means it's very fragile and easily oxidized, damaged by free radicals. Vitamin E, as a potent antioxidant, acts like a bodyguard protecting these precious DHA molecules from being destroyed on their way to the brain. So if you're low on vitamin E, you could be taking lots of fish oil and direct DHA and not noticing much of a difference, because a good portion of that DHA may be getting oxidized before it can ever do its work. One of the biggest reasons people become deficient in vitamin E is because they consume too many refined grains. When a wheat kernel is milled into white flour or brown rice becomes white rice, the most nutritious parts, the bran and the germ, are stripped away. This is exactly where most of the vitamin E is stored. So refined grains are a major reason you might be low on vitamin E. Or it could simply be that you aren't eating enough vitamin E-rich foods in your diet. Now, when we talk about tocotrienol, that more powerful form of vitamin E, getting enough of it from food is even harder. I'll list the foods that contain it. Annatto, a red seed from the achiote tree, which you've probably never heard of. Then we have palm oil. However, many people don't consume palm oil due to environmental and health concerns. It's also in rice bran oil, but that's not a common oil in American households either. It's also found in olive oil, but only in trace amounts, not nearly enough to make a meaningful impact. This scarcity in the typical diet is why supplements have become such a practical option. Of all the medical conditions you can get, you do not want to have a stroke. It can change your life forever. So how do you prevent it? Do you just take a baby aspirin every day? Well, you should talk to your doctor about that. For decades, low-dose aspirin was considered a standard preventative measure. However, there is some recent information about aspirin possibly causing harm. Aspirin helps thin the blood, which is useful for preventing strokes caused by blood clots. But the other type of stroke is a hemorrhagic stroke, caused by a ruptured blood vessel. If you take aspirin when that happens, it can cause even more bleeding. I'm not telling you not to take aspirin, but talk to your doctor and get the full picture on whether you should be taking it. This is a decision that needs to be personalized, weighing the benefits and risks for you specifically. But there are natural blood thinners, and garlic is a great example. Garlic has long been known in folk medicine for its ability to support blood circulation. Even more important than thinning the blood is addressing the deeper underlying causes. Adopting a ketogenic diet and cutting sugar out of your diet is an incredibly powerful step. Excess sugar in the blood causes chronic inflammation, which damages the artery walls. The body then responds by creating patches out of cholesterol and calcium, which gradually build up into plaque. This is one of the deeper root causes of blood clots and plaque formation.
Along with that, balancing your fats is crucial. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in things like fish oil and cod liver oil, act like firefighters, helping to put out inflammatory responses in the body. They are essential. Conversely, we need to cut way back on excess omega-6 fatty acids. These oils aren't necessarily bad, but the modern diet has us consuming them in a ratio that's way too high compared to omega-3s. They're in a lot of restaurant food and are hidden in soy oil, corn oil, canola oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil. This imbalance can cause inflammation in the arteries and potentially lead to problems with strokes down the line. And of course, regular exercise is essential for keeping your blood circulation flowing smoothly. Physical activity helps strengthen your heart, makes your blood vessel walls more flexible, and effectively controls blood pressure, which truly reduces your risk of a stroke. These are proactive prevention strategies you can put into practice every day. But if you have ever experienced any stroke symptoms, or you know someone who has had a stroke, have them take the tocotrienol version of vitamin E.
Nancy was lucky someone spoke up. But not everyone gets that chance. Too many people still believe that dizziness or blurry vision is just fatigue, only to face a major stroke, brain bleed, or even never wake up again just weeks later. A stroke doesn't always begin with intense pain. Sometimes it starts on a peaceful morning, just like Nancy's. And recovery doesn't end in the emergency room. It also depends on what you choose to do and take after that moment. Tocotrienol, the next generation form of vitamin E, isn't magic, but it may be the part you can control. It protects your brain cells, supports circulation, and offers a second chance to those who aren't ready to lose one more day with the people they love. If you or someone you care about has ever shown any warning signs, act now. And if this video reminded you of someone, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, because one timely reminder could save a life.